I don't think I ever really believed everything.
And I realized that quite a few of the things didn't hold water.
The actual religions were man-made from wherever.
God? Who's God? What's God?
I think skepticism really is the first step.
Scientific zest and zeal for the real world.
That was it. I was an atheist from then on.
Thinking back, I don't think I questioned anything. I just did as told.
Okay, here's his.
And this is our friend Marlon, and welcome to New York City Atheists. She is here to explain her road to atheism.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So in the beginning, you were from...
South America, Colombia.
And you were raised in a... what kind of family?
Highly Roman Catholic family.
Roman Catholic, okay.
Most special events in our home revolved around religious ceremonies and rituals.
Mm-hmm.
And you went to church every Sunday?
Yes.
And
Observe all the holidays?
Yes.
When it was Lent, you stayed away from eating a certain food or?
Yes, during Easter.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Of course, you couldn't eat red meat for a week, only fish.
And did they explain why?
They did, but I didn't quite understand it. I think it had to do something with the blood of God. I might be wrong.
Long time ago.
But
the reason why I say that is there are a lot of different things that occur with the Roman Catholic Church, a lot of rituals and a lot of ceremonies, and I would say good 50%, if not more, of the people don't know what really it is all about.
Yeah.
But they follow through with it because it is custom to do something like
and
that.
Tradition.
And tradition, right. Yeah. So that's understandable. In your training, and you went to school, a Catholic school?
In Colombia, yes. I was actually...
Was that a must? And did they have instead of parochial school, did they also have a public school, a secular school?
Well, my upbringing was very different because, my mom, we were really, really poor. And what happens in South American countries when you're really poor, they leave you in a kind of like what they call... over there, they call them intern schools, but what they really are sort of convents where the nuns take care of you. So for the very poor children, if your parents cannot take care of you, they leave you in a nun's school. So basically, that's where you... I spent most of my childhood
with convent. Would you say that living in a convent, living and being exposed to that when you were young, would that be one of the reasons why people become nuns?
Yes, for some children that they never get adopted, that's sort of like a way out. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
That's what I'm thinking.
And obviously the nuns try really, really hard to indoctrinate you and make you take that path. Mm-hmm. So yes, a lot of the girls, because it was just girls, there's no boys. Mm-hmm. Some of the girls I knew went that road. They became nuns.
And they would always separate the girls and the boys, the male
there
from the
was
female.
No boys.
No boys at all?
No boys at all. It was
so
just,
you didn't have
just
any... Did they set any ground rules for you as far as your beliefs, education, and follow through? Is anything like that?
It was very strict in the sense that... we had to get up all at the same time when we're walking up.
Mm-hmm. Wear the same dress, wear the same coat.
Wear the same dress. Yeah, the same outfit. So everyone wears the same sort of uniform, kind of school uniform. Mm-hmm. In our case, was some sort of like pleated kind of gabardine.
Mm-hmm. And how long were you in this school?
I was there since I was around 8 until I was 13. So at least... Yeah.
And did you ever start having doubts while in that school, or that was something that occurred later?
I didn't have doubts then. I just, thinking back, I don't think I questioned anything. I just did as told.
Okay, here's a question for you. Okay, here's a situation now.
That came later. The questioning came later.
Right, got you. You're interested in science and everything, and you probably had. Did they have biology and any earth science or anything basic that they taught in the school?
Yes. So of course we're being taught classes, most of it religious, revolving around religious, and most of the education was vocational. Like we're learning to do things manually, like kneading or something more vocational.
Okay. Did they teach you anything? Homemaking, home economics.
Homemaking.
Did they ever teach you anything about evolution or mention it in any particular way to you?
No, absolutely not. No, I don't recall.
Any science at all?
Yes, we
Science,
had
but
a
limited.
science class that I remember being there was all learning about plants, like flowers,
Botany.
and like botany.
Yeah.
Botany was the only science class that I remember we
Okay,
had.
so they didn't really have biology or anything like that.
No, not
And
like in that
You
way.
were there in those classes for up to what grade? Equivalent
Until
to-
she was 13,
13, so
So-
I was
6th, 7th grade.
6th, 7th grade.
Seventh grade would be about that. Sixth grade around there, when they taught you their courses, did they pepper it or spice it with the influence of religion?
Always. It's
Could you give me
always
some
centered-
examples? Could you give me some examples?
Always
of
centered
them?
around God is watching.
Was it fear? Did they put the fear in you?
Of course.
Could
It's
you-
all,
could you-
yeah,
could you-
I'd say to my husband how for the longest time I always walked around feeling like when I was a kid that if I did anything evil or like sneaky, I felt that
God was taking notes.
something bad terrible was going to happen to me because, God is watching. Like I did as a kid, I did fear that. It was so inculcated in you that, yeah, you believe it. Children believe what adults tell you.
They're brainwashed
Right.
into
You're
it.
And they do
brainwashed
that.
into
They
it.
do that.
And
And-
up until I was in my 18 or 19, I was still sometimes going back to that state of like feeling fear for something
And from 13
bad I did.
to 18, you were in a different school?
Yes, then I was taken out because my mom was in a better financial situation. So yeah, and then I just started going to a regular school, just girls, like all girls, but also in a Catholic kind of thing, but not with the nuns. It was also a Catholic school, but
Was it a
in
day school or a boarding school?
day school, just like
school.
the one that you just go to classes and
During
go
the
back home.
time when you left Catholic school, you went on to a more secular type of education. Were there any conflicts? Did you see anything a little bit differently, or did you start to reason differently?
Did the doubt start sneaking in?
No, it's funny. All my time in Colombia, in South America, I never started. No doubt was there. I can't think of any time when I started feeling that I don't believe anything.
Okay, so even the
I
secular...
was still had fears, but my state growing up was always just very fearful of doing the wrong thing, but not really ever questioning or
Okay,
not.
so I understand.
Did you ever think of becoming a nun?
At some point, yeah, when I was in school, just thinking that maybe that was the only option I will have if my mom didn't take me out of school. Yeah. But not because I wanted to or that because that was my calling. It was more like
Financial.
what do I do? And that seemed to be an option.
So
Yeah.
you left Colombia at 18, or what happened
Oh, right. So I left at 16.
16?
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
that's
you
16.
went to college?
I
or
came to the U.S.
came to the US?
Yeah, I came to the U.S. and then that was another ordeal because obviously I didn't speak the language at all, and you got to start over. And
That's rough. That's
Yeah.
rough.
yeah, and then my mom, obviously, she's a sweet woman, but she is highly uneducated in every way. So, but she did have a sense that she could put me on some public school. Mm-hmm. So that's what they do with the immigrant kids. They drop you into these bilingual schools, and you try to swim,
Okay,
even though you don't know how to.
but bilingual is a good way to start. At least get you introduced
Yeah,
into the
back then was
yeah.
torturous. Thinking back, it was very torturous. I felt really stupid because I was just in classes, just not understanding anything, feeling really dumb because I don't get anything. The only times when I understood something was the classes that were in Spanish.
Yes.
Because the bilingual is very weird. The bilingual education here means some classes are in English, some classes are in Spanish. It's not like the teacher. It's not like in a single class you're getting both languages.
Which is what we would think it would be. Yeah.
Right, but it's not. It's very confusing for the kids that don't speak the language. But it is, you're right, a rough way to just get you in there and
the neighborhood you lived in, was it a lot of immigrant? I mean, was it Spanish speaking, or did you have to?
I grew up with my mom in Queens when I moved. She came first, and obviously we lived in Queens, where it's very, very Latin, highly South American. So yeah, my mom has never left that community. She doesn't speak English at all, and because she's always been in that community, even though she's been here for 30 years.
First generation, that's what usually happens. You have to do well to become a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever the case may be.
You're absolutely right. That's exactly
that.
what my mom's position has always been. She's always worked like 2-3 jobs.
Right.
I'm her only daughter, so it's just always been like.
It's been that way. Because they want you to succeed. They want you to take the road. That's why they came over. That's the first thing in a lot of immigrants' minds.
Do you know any brothers or sisters?
No, I'm the only one.
When you had that,
I was an accident anyway for her. she's gay, so.
Okay.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, my mom is gay.
Did that affect you at all?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a whole other story, because. Especially in a Roman Catholic country,
absolutely.
Being gay is like the most horrible thing. So I grew up like hating my mom and everyone telling me how,
it's amazing how the
what
control,
a sin that is.
Right.
So it's pretty bad.
Did the other kids know about this?
No.
So they didn't know about this. School didn't know about it? The school in Columbia?
I don't know if the school knew. They might have known. I'm not sure.
Okay. So
but the relatives, because my mom left. She left me in the school and she went to Venezuela, which it was doing better back then in South America. It was like the best country in the 70s. And so she left me in that school in Colombia. So sometimes relatives will come see me. But they always had something horrible to say about my mom just because they hated her for being what she was.
Okay. That's most unfortunate. But then again, you had two types of things that you had to overcome. And the one was the fear of disappointing God, quote unquote, and that anything that you did, that's what I'm getting from you, is that you were always looking over your shoulder that he's or she is taking notes on you, and that you would
something bad is going to happen.
Something as bad is going to happen to you, and I get that. You're not the only one with that thought. That other kids might have had the same. Other people in training had the same.
Oh, the kids that I lived with in the convent, they all had that fear. There was a girl that, in retrospect, I realized she was masturbating. And she was punished like it was ugly. The way they used to punish you would be like, you have to kneel on this gravel for a long time, and it's sunny out, and it's
really? And then you'd have to say your, rosary. You'd have to say,
right, you have to pray a lot. The whole the whole punishment where you have to kneel in this annoying thing for a long time and just pray all the time. Pray for hours. They will give you like a recipe of like, the rosary, of a recipe of things you have to say to do these many times.
Let me ask you a question now. When you came to the United States and you saw the freedom, I'm assuming, that was here, that was a little bit different, you didn't get the punishment or the fear of when did that start to dissipate?
For me, I don't think I ever really... I know it sounds contradictory that I was afraid when I was a child of God, but I don't think I ever really believed everything.
You accepted it.
I just sort of accepted it. That
the grown-ups knew what they were talking about.
Right. You just sort of accept it. But, as I got getting older, then you just kind of... Reason. Yeah. And
it didn't start to make sense after a while.
Right. Then I'm in school and I'm learning all these different things. I'm a scientist, so...
And while you were in America, did you attend church and stuff like that? I mean, were you as... sort of,
because your mother was over here too.
In the first years that I came, I'll just go accompany my mom because my mom is still very religious and she goes to mass, and it's a big source of conflict between her and I that I she knows I don't believe in God.
Oh, well,
And
now hold on there.
Once in a while.
When did this start to change? When did you start to have doubt? Was it when the first couple of years you came over, when you went to advanced education? Was the influence of the people in the neighborhood or others? Could you?
I think it was more like once I was in graduate school, I started more reasoning and rationally thinking about it and just giving it thought. I guess I just never gave it that much thought. And
Evolution or anything like that? Do you know about it?
You can say that, but you can. I wouldn't say learning evolution changed my mind. No, it was just. I mean, yes, eventually understanding the nitty gritty of science, and you can see things are really possible. That how evolution really works. Once you understand the science well, yes, it makes sense to you, and it can help you into your pathway to realizing God just doesn't make sense.
Did you read the Bible that much?
No, not at all. It wasn't for me. It was never about the Bible. I think the things that started like just clicking with me more was just thinking rationally. Yeah. Like the things my mom believes, for instance. Like I will think them and just realize how silly it seemed, how dumb. Like how without a substance at all.
And of course, the saddest thing is that she's a believer, but she's a lesbian, which sort of
exactly
contradictory.
That's
right.
a huge conflict that she has herself.
That's a conflict.
The conflicts with my mom are more about like I sometimes question her. I say, Mom, how do you interpret the fact that right now all around the world there's a lot of children starving to death, and there's a lot of suffering, and there's and she, when I corner her, like she has no answer. She just reverts into the state of just denial, and just like she doesn't even acknowledge this sense. It's more like
But one of the common answers is God works in mysterious ways, or
exactly.
That sort of thing. He has his reasons. Yes, that we tiny little people really, know nothing.
So that touches me more into why I started questioning God. Is more about like I see there's so much horror in the world. Like how, if there is a good being that's looking after us, why is he? Sounds cliche, but why is he allowing? Why is he allows all these horrible things to happen?
Or does this
all the
horrible
unfairness
things.
of the world? Like sometimes children being killed in the most horrendous of ways. Like how. Why would God let something like that happen?
See,
that means a lot to me. Yeah,
I think that's
the
very
things
good.
that basically have changed my thought, my thinking about it more, or have influenced me more into just realizing there's no God. But that's the process that I learned through my scientific training. Yeah, to be rational and analytical and.
But you were an adult. You were a young adult when you first learned critical thinking instead of being taught this, in simple stages as a young child, and so many schools just don't do it.
Right, they don't, and they should. You have to understand that there are parts of this country.
They're scared that what happens is what happens.
Right.
That kids will look at these things critically and go, "This is nonsense."
Well, here's the problem. In your Bible Belt areas, in the rural areas, you have a lot of teachers, science teachers especially, are fearful, do you believe this, of teaching science as it is. All right? They have to be very careful of the words they use, and especially when it comes to things such as evolution.
Yeah.
All right? Because the school boards in those rural areas, not everyone, but a lot of them, and especially in the Deep South, are fixed with people on that of the religious beliefs, and they see it as a conflict. Something that you're teaching is a lies, science lies, compared to what the Bible says, so to speak.
Right.
You see? So we still have problems. You speak about South America, there's still problems in this country.
Yes, I actually have a friend who is a high school teacher in science, and just talking with him one time, he's like, it amazes me how many kids come to my class who believe in creationism, and they're so fixated on it, and they're obviously getting it at home.
That's right, they are.
Yeah,
and
he's in the New York City area.
Yes,
Massapequa,
a high school in Massapequa, which is not even that bad.
There should never be creationism versus science. It should be Christian creationism versus Hindu creationism versus Native American creationism versus Aborigine creationism. The dream time is really a lot of fun. And, let the mythologies duke it out. But they should leave science alone.
Well, it's
why
to
did
teach. I'm sorry. You want to say?
What do you guys think that, like, when they say, "Oh, but children need to be taught all the different things and let them choose by themselves"?
Not in a science class. Science is science. Religion. You want religion? When you go to Sunday school.
But in the same school, they get, like, in the same school can have, like, religion, and in religion class, they get ecclesiastic studies, and in science class they get science. Like, are you, like, do you support, like, a kid in school getting all the views and then
but also
choose?
No, but he has to learn all the religion, all the mythologies. I mean, there I am sitting in Sunday school, and they're teaching me about Adam and Eve, and I'm going, yeah, but the Egyptians believed in these two people were the original, and the Norse mythologies believed in those two people being the original, and the Hindus believed this. So why should this one tribe have the real genuine article and all the other tribes are teaching nonsense? Where's the proof that this nonsense is a genuine article? And they never could answer that.
I want to get back to her question, one question that she mentioned, which is important because that is, and I believe, tell me if I'm right or wrong, you did say that what do you do with the child? Where's the teaching come in? Where do you get the influence of teaching this person this, or do you let them find it out on their own? You want to know this. It is my thought that I feel that you have a person learn on their own. I did. Okay, I had to come to reasons on my own rather than being taught this, or let's say have parents say, well, we're atheists and therefore you're an atheist. That's almost as bad as saying we're Catholic and therefore you're Catholic. I'd rather say, this is what my father did. He said, and he was an atheist, but he said, unlike my mother, he said, well, why don't you read some books? Yeah. Why don't you read some books on this? Why don't you read something on this in science? And what conclusions do you come to? And he would ask me that. And what do you come to? What kind of conclusions do you come with that? And I'd start thinking, which I didn't do before, I would start thinking, well, so-and-so and so-and-so, and you would give me leading questions.
And he started you on critical thinking at a young age.
And that's exactly the way he did, right, see? And this is what they're lacking. What you were lacking was doing that critical thinking at the time, giving you enough information and seeing how you're going to put things together. And that is a problem. If you do something like that, you're going to be a much stronger believer because you start, and this will help you in life, because you're going to do critical thinking throughout life, whether it's in politics, whether it's in religion, whether it's in work attitudes and everything else. You will be analytical, which is what you had to get when you were in college and when you got deeply involved in science.
More like in graduate school, yeah.
That's right, exactly. Graduate school to do that. But all those years...
It came too late for me.
It came late, but thank goodness.
At least it came.
I don't want to say thank God. Thank goodness that this did happen.
And it's not late. I mean, the majority of your life you're going to be living as an atheist.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, because you know what? You're going to enjoy life more now because you're going to live for now.
And you're not going to keep an eye out for that guy up there,
right?
Watching you.
You're not going to be suffering. You're not going to be suffering and saving this for when you die, so that you're going to suffer throughout life. Now you're going to say, no, I'm going to do things where I can enjoy life and be myself, whether I'm straight or gay. I'm going to be myself.
The interesting thing is I still have the instincts to be good and be caring and be right and be
an atheist is also
and be compassionate. But I feel like that's just my
atheists are
my
good.
nature. It doesn't come from religion.
It doesn't.
It's innate. It's innate.
And atheists are the same way. We have the same feeling, compassion, and everything else.
Well, the majority of people in
we give blood
are religious. The Christians, and a minority, the small faction, are atheists.
Yeah.
So you have to think of the people doing all these nasty things, do it even if they are afraid of who up there. Whereas, atheists do get into trouble, but it has nothing to do with the lack of religion.
No, absolutely.
No, not at all.
Freud,
if anything, I think the people that are like from really poor we tend to see the most churches in really poor areas, right?
Yes.
So it's like the people that are really just...
Do you know how many churches are being closed? How many Catholic churches are being closed in New York City and the peripheral areas? because people, it has to be a reason.
And in Europe.
And has to be a reason, right? There are very few. You find some elderly people in the churches, very few with their beads still, but the rest, the young people don't bother with that bead stuff. They don't pay attention to that.
That's true.
You see? So things are changing. And I'm so happy that you are feeling that way and doing things. Your background is that you're a scientist now. I just want the audience to know this.
Yes.
And
Yes.
From your background as such, how in the world did you get the initiative, the incentive to go to do what you did to get a PhD in biology? What made you do that? Why did you do it?
I've always feared mediocrity.
Fear what?
Mediocrity.
mediocrity.
I think that's a very honest answer. Just feeling like everything around me is ugly and like poor and like just
You got to find
like
the
not
truth.
wanting to be part of it has been like a pushing force to just sort of try to get out of that. And just wanting to get out of
Mediocrity, both financially,
financially and socially, intellectually. I like studying. I don't know. I mean, actually, being in non-school, all you have to do is read and study, and maybe
And you want to get a job.
it's no, I don't actually, but I have to. I could spend my whole life just
And there's so much to learn.
learning. Really,
There are people out there that are maybe from South America, maybe from Colombia, maybe from areas and suffering, but are listening to this show. And maybe if not listening to the show from here in this area, if this is going to be brought back to them for those who have recorders, may bring it back, or the information about it brought back to their place, okay? Would you like to leave a message as to those who are there that there's hope, you can do something, whether they leave the country or stay in the country? Could you give some last words for that?
I think the only thing that can ever accomplish something is just to work really hard at anything and be very persuasive about what you're doing. Like, just keep at it. Never give up. The only way to fail is to give up.
And the culture to avoid certain things, or anything you may want to mention about that as far as what might be holding them back scientifically by a nation being not advanced because religion is holding them back? Anything you want to mention?
Yeah, just question things when they tell you something.
Ask the next question.
Use logic, like your own reasoning, like logic something.
Do you want to say it in Spanish?
No.
Well, we want to thank you.
Piensen, chicos, piensen.
Great.
That's all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.